Members of the. So I'd like to call the Dover Select Board meeting to order at 6:32 p.m.
Just gonna push that up.
Public comments. Agenda, let's see, no public comments. We are going to skip over the PFAS at the well. Because we're going to put that on the agenda for the next meeting, which I believe is the 20th. And the state hydrogeologist and KAS will be with us, so we can answer all kinds of things. Because I don't know if everybody knows, we were turned down for the waiting for the 36-hour continuous test, which is a $20,000 test. And it brings with it other issues, so we're postponing that to the next meeting. So the next thing that we have on the agenda is the Snow Lake Lodge Dam project update from Alyssa with the regional.
Paraphrase?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I received an email, actually, I spoke with Alyssa from regional. And she sent an email on May 23rd, that they met yesterday, they met the day before that with SLR and VHB and Not Snow about the Snow Lake project, and it's progressing. They attached a schedule of a timeline and plan to complete the town portion of the work in either November or December of this year. They did do a field work on the 2nd, and I don't have details from that. Right, so they were going to verify the bank full width. They have a second field work to be determined. The borings are done. They then reach out to Travis about construction on the side access road at some point. We're going to share the designs in a public meeting, and we're going to be off to facilitate that, and they have that ready.
Anything else, Brian?
I would say it's progressing on schedule. Like it's a project. It's like we knew this is going to be a long time to play, and like I feel like we're in a good spot from where we started to where we are today. And I think by the time we get to the end of the year, the town's portion will be done, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Right. Anybody have any questions about this? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to police, and we asked Chief Johnson to provide us with the cost of covering the Blueberry Parade. So we would ask, maybe you want to talk to me about this?
So I can, you guys, you got it, I can just summarize it, or I can read.
Yeah, I think the public would be interested.
What I typed up.
Yeah.
Okay, so the board asked for me to do an estimate about what we would charge for the chamber. So my letter to him was, for your request, here's an estimated cost charged to the police services rate in July. Quote is based on the current rate of supervisor, $70 an hour, and officer was $55 an hour with a 4-hour minimum for each officer, which would come out to $1,660. The select board goes with the 10% raise as mentioned during the budget process and at town meeting for police officers effective July 1st. We would then need to raise those rates. After checking with Shelley to make sure FICA and retirement are covered, we would need to raise our rates to $80 an hour for supervisors, $65 for officers. Using these rates for the 4-hour minimum, for each officer would be $1,940. The duty officer for the day is not included in the above quotes. In the past, we used SERP, which was a countywide volunteer agency that helped out with events. As of 2019, they no longer exist. When I did this letter, they have not gotten back to me. Perhaps they don't exist any longer. If by some chance, if we needed more help with what the department is, then I would have to ask the police agency. The chamber will be responsible for those costs, and I did mention that to Bethany at the chamber, and she's aware of it. The chamber is also responsible for paying $30 to have extra for the updated stickers that go on the sandwich boards that says the dates and times of the parade. So they will be paying that $30. If we had charged in years past, the cost would have been lower than the above quotes due to the officers are the rates being lower than they are did now. Did a brief search over the past 11 years, and the cost to do the parade would not have had a significant impact on the PD overtime budget. 6 years, we were under budget, 5 years, we were over budget. If needed, I do have those numbers. If we were to charge, for the most part, it would be a wash, because this would fall under the line item of outside employment. There's a typo in there, it goes in not in the overtime budget. So it would be a wash, because it would be outside employment, they would basically be reimbursed and still it's a wash. I believe in the past, and even under Chief Edwards, we never charged the chamber. It was our part to help out the nonprofit community event. I still feel this way for a couple of reasons, which I did not dictate here. I decided to let the board decide whether or not to continue with this, or if they want to charge the chamber. So that's what's the quote. My recommendation is, again, it's not, it's for nonprofit, and it's in our part. And if I understand it right, I realize that it's, economic development's one part of the budget, so it's like taking money from this part of the budget and kind of like paying us back in another way. So I'll leave it up to the board with those numbers and do what you want to do. I just felt like at this point in time, since I'm retiring, that I don't think you guys ever have decided that was one of the reasons. So I was just reading it forward, the board decided that way going forward. Then we won't get any questions.
So Bethany, tell us about what the Blueberry Parade is gonna happen and how your budget is shaping them.
Sure, so the Blueberry Parade will include, some fire departments, hopefully rescue, we're still working on. Securing all those things, businesses will put floats in, we have a couple performers, a group of cloggers will participate. We're hoping to have all the people who are participating in the touch a truck to come as well. And just drive through, because they'll hopefully, if you time it right, they'll end up just parking once they're done. A clown or some sort of like circus performers will be there. We'll have musicians, ideally local musicians on many of the floats. And maybe the Southern Vermont Natural History Museum, Michael might be here as well, like a couple hours or something, walking through. With the thought that they would lead into the street fair piece and the craft fair part and an afternoon of entertainment for families and individuals. So from a budget, I have cushion in there just in case these things come up, and also because this is my first year doing the parade and I wasn't exactly sure where things would fall. So we can absorb this if we need to.
Other comments? Well, I don't think Bethany probably knew about this cost.
And no,
And we weren't aware of this, how much it would be. It's fairly significant. Eric,
So this occurred in Wilmington. I think maybe the last time I ran fireworks. Wilmington decided that they wanted to start being paid to cover the fireworks for us, and basically, as Randy said, what that translates to is, Bethany requesting more money from us to cover the expense, so that basically we'd be paying over PD to cover the event. For so if we need to cover those costs, like Bethany just needs to know ahead of time, I think, to ask for some extra money to cover those costs.
other comments? I would be inclined to absorb it this year, and then going forward, we'll know to budget money, and then it won't come out of taxpayer money, it'll come out of economic development money. That's just my inclination.
Sounds fair. Sounds good.
So I guess the board has decided that we will pay for the police to cover the relationship.
Okay, and then so going forward, then
Yeah, as your rates change, you should let there, we get the Blueberry applications, we should kind of want to. And then they can reach out to you and get a rate,
perfect,
or to whoever is.
whoever, yep.
It was your last name. Black rodeo, baby.
I take that.
So, on that note, I really, appreciated Mike Arbogast coming to the meet and greet. It was. We had some attendance, excellent questions, excellent responses. I thought it was a really wonderful opportunity to really understand a lot more about Mike and his philosophy with policing, so I thank you. Mhm. Thank you. Yes,
One request was to go on board with that. I know you said that it's like 4 hour minimum. I don't even know how long you're thinking about having them for. But if you didn't need them for 4 hours, only need them for 3 hours, you'd be able to break that like 4 hour.
that's our call out. That's the.
Not even be as simple as, you know, able to learn on that.
No, because what it is I'm asking officers to come in on their day off. And so they should be compensated for something. I can't force them to come in. Because it is their day off. I'm not that kind of administrator. So to have them come in on their day off, potentially only a 2 hour period. To me, it's not worth it. So you have to make it worth their while to come in on your day off. And that is, as Vicky just said, and that's what we charge for anybody. We would go work with Mount Snow. Or utility company, we have a 4 hour minimum.
That's good, but we're not at the places that we're not.
No, I get it. I get it. That's the reasons.
I would imagine 4 hours, you know, the parade will only be an hour with setup and breakdown and all the things, it would probably shake out about that.
It comes close, man.
Anything else for the police?
That's it.
Right. Moving on.
Seems
Here we go. Highway. Travis, you consider the Ventrac purchase.
You all have the pricing,
Yes,
okay?
you have pricing? It was $7. Okay, so we have 3 quotes.
3
Want
quotes.
to talk to us about this?
Yep, we received 3 quotes. One from Champlain Valley Equipment, one from MTE Equipment Solutions, and one from Southside Sales in North Adams. All the prices of the machine were fairly close. The only difference was very much so in the trade value of this machine. The trade value for Champlain Valley Equipment was $10,500. And NTE was $4,500, and Southside Sales wasn't interested in any trade. So, so naturally, for the pricing and for the trade value, I suggest we purchase our brand new Ventrac machine from Champlain Valley Equipment.
For a net of 44,633.40.
Yes,
And what is the delivery on this? Travis?
end of July 1st, end of the month here. Yep. On schedule.
And I didn't look, what was our,
We budgeted 56,000 for this machine, so we came in quite well under budget.
okay, we like that.
Yep.
Any comments, questions?
You're saying that the one we have is virtually trouble free, is it just getting old enough that you're nervous?
It's getting old enough, it's starting to show its wear.
Mhm.
It has quite a lot of hours on it for a gasoline engine machine. 2,000 hours is quite a lot.
Right, so you make a motion that we authorize Travis to purchase the Ventrac from Champlain Valley Equipment, a price of $55,133.40 minus trade of $10,500 for a total net cost of $44,633.40.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Next, consider the road tree vacancy.
At this time. Because in the month that we ran the application. We only got 3 applicants, one of which has a CDL, the other 2 did not. I would like to hold off until fall and maybe run the ad again. After our guys have gotten their raise and. Then we can maybe start somebody off and be able to offer the person coming in a little bit more. That's my idea.
Comments?
Don't we need the employee now as opposed to?
No, not through the summer right now, no. In the winter, in the fall, yeah. We'll definitely be able in the winter, so whether we hire in the fall for a part-time, possible full-time, or just a full-time. Whatever we can get, but 3 applicants, one of which is a CDL. That was a previous employee. I would like to meet.
Maybe you ought to even consider a seasonal if we have to.
That's
Like another regular or somebody who's probably got a CDL and knows what they're doing.
right.
But I think at this point, I think I can hear that Travis is a bit discouraged about the applicant pool, and we maybe need to let it set for a little bit before we go after it.
If we could, I would appreciate it.
And our pay rates are, everybody okay with that?
Travis. Is that really confident that his department can do without the person for a while?
Thank you.
Okay. Next, update on town hall windows and first house.
Yes, we'll start with the windows. The windows were ordered on May 16th. They called me today, actually. The windows will arrive July 24. And then they called me back later on today and we set up a installation date. So we have an installation date of August 14th through 16th for the windows in the town hall.
Is there any conflict of usage? Did you check with me?
Check with me.
Thank you. That's the good news.
Yes, yep,
And you did have to get a permit, correct? Can you?
yes, yep, it's all. Home Depot went through everything and got all the permitting for the windows. Our permit that we have is posted in the window there. So we're good to go as far as the window installation.
Right.
On schedule. In getting those permits, I received a call from the National Historic Registry about the town hall, and they had inquired about the windows and had offered assistance if we needed or not. However, I told them that these have already been replaced. They're not the original to the building. These have been replaced late 80s, early 90s, I'm guessing, from the dates on the window. So they said, okay, we won't be able to help you in that, but I brought up the shed, which apparently was a hearse house. The house, the town hearse. And that is listed on the historical registry as well. And they said there would be some assistance available if we wanted to pursue it through the Preservation Trust of Vermont. I have not called the Preservation Trust of Vermont. But when I talked to the lady at the historic registry, she said that funding wouldn't be for this year, it'd be for next year or the following. So as far as immediate results of the shed, probably not, unless it was something that we just went ahead and tried to do.
So, yes.
Would the Historic Preservation Society be willing to reimburse after the fact if you presented it and just said this is, because the condition of the building is an emergency.
Yeah,
It's not like it's not like we want to paint it.
Yeah.
It's in critical condition.
exactly.
Would they consider
if we went ahead and did the work because we've got to get it done, would they consider even a partial reimbursement? Down?
I don't know, I'd have to call, that's why, that's what I guess that's what was my final question was, do you want me to look into? Calling the Preservation Trust and see what our options are, maybe they can offer an immediate repair, immediate temporary repair for now to get us through. And then finalization later on after we have sorted everything out, I mean, we can look into it, or we can, you know.
Well, I think we need to talk to them anyway about, obviously, we need a storage building.
Yeah.
It is a kind of cool building. I mean, the trusses all have that nice curve on the end, which was, obviously. The town has neglected it for a long time. And it is in a situation where another winter and probably the whole roof will be down, right? So I think that we should try to see what we can do and what we can do proactively that we might be able to get. You know, we're not gonna make it a museum, like, so.
Right.
Chester did their first house, and it was in as bad a condition as this one. And now it's a museum, and they have their hearse in it, but we don't have the hearse anymore, so that doesn't seem to make much sense, and so, I think we should get some more information, in my opinion. From the historic preservation trust.
Okay.
Others?
Yeah, sure.
Well, if you go Oliver and about something,
But yeah, it's, and now that, so it was, the application for the, to be on the, it was in 1988.
Yes,
Right. And I think, and there's never been any plaques, so we should get plaques for both buildings. If the Hearst House continues to be and we should, because I think everybody forgot, it's like, I feel like with like the lines in Wilmington that we're gonna take off the side of the building, people forget if you don't have something that says it. So I think that we should get a marker for the town hall and potentially the Hearst House and recognize it.
I would have never known
No.
had this call not been made. I honestly, being an outsider coming in, you know. And without looking at the link that she sent me to the registry that was dated 1988,
Mhm.
I would have never known.
Yeah. So I think that we need to make sure we do that kind of thing. We should be good at it. We should be better at doing that. So, I don't know how we get that done, but maybe you can ask them as well, how we get clients.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Mhm.
All right. And the last thing, we want to consider a chloride truck purchase. Talk to us about that.
So. I have been seeking out the last couple of years, just keep my eye out for something. A truck or vehicle, a trailer, something to put the chloride tank on and just leave it on there. Or as like a tanker vehicle. To put chloride down with, maybe if I had to flush a few culverts out with. You know, instead of moving our chloride tank from truck to truck to truck to truck and causing corrosion issues on those vehicles that we need. I can just devote it to one piece and leave it and use it as I need it. Without too much of a burden on the town. So I found what you would call a farm truck. It is a Chevy C60 with a 12-foot flatbed body, all steel 12-foot flatbed body on it. And I'd like to buy it. I found it locally. I'd like to buy it for $2,700. And put it together and have it to use until we can't use it anymore.
Comments?
He's taking it down,
We're probably gonna have to probably put a little extra in on trying to get it all fitted for the tank to just sit on there.
I'm not sure to have anything.
I mean, the truck's been sitting for a little bit, so I'm gonna have to go through the brakes on it, which, you know, I priced out already. But other than that, we have the tank,
Yeah.
we have the pumps, it's just a matter of doing what I need to do to get it ready. You know, if it goes through, you know, I'll be out chloride with it in less than a month probably. Used immediately.
Anybody? Anybody want to make a motion then?
Make a motion that we authorize Travis to purchase the truck as prescribed for
for use with the chloride.
Second.
And is it $2,700?
$2,700, purchased locally here, down private sale.
Purchase price of $2,700, exclusive of any repair.
Then we
Double second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else, Travis?
Yes, I have some updates, some more
All right.
updates if you don't mind hearing them.
No, we love updates.
Okay. I have the signs for the cautioning of the truck traffic on Dover Hill Road. The signs are up. I have flashing lights for them. I'm awaiting batteries, so the flashing lights should go up this week, early next. We spent about $800 to $1,000 on signs. So hopefully this will work.
Is the covered bridge sign flashing still?
It is. Yep. But I'm having. Both of the sign setups that I purchased are 2 posts, so we're gonna have 2 flashing lights on each, one at the top, Dover Hill, after the school, another one after Snow Road. Another set of 2 flashing lights with the same sign, just a different mileage going down. One at 2 miles, one at 1 mile. Also on Dover Hill last week, the guardrail has been replaced, and I have sent the bill along to the insurance company from the Cushing and Sons accident. So we're awaiting funding back on that.
Right.
And then I have an update for the milling on the Dover Hill Road. We're looking at scheduling the milling for Dover Hill on the week of July 31st to August 2nd. So we'll be milling a 2-inch depth in those areas discussed on Dover Hill. And
So that starts just below Holland Road.
yep, just below Holland Road by Doc Clark's there.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way up over to Sugar House Road. Yep, and then from Taftbrook Corner to the new Fan line. Those 2 sections. And paving will be following 2 weeks prior. 2 weeks after that. Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it? Good. Boy, that, yeah, Travis, I don't know, right? Thank you very much for all the updates.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now moving to new business. We're gonna consider library trustee appointments. So we have 2 openings and we have 2 appointment nominees from the library, and the first one is Kathy Sicosio, lives in Dover Hill. And who's been here 35 years and is a former school teacher. And the other one we have is another Dover resident, Brenda McGrail, who has lived here, has 2 children in Dover School, and was on the Bytown committee. That's all, I mean, yeah. He didn't attend. Did he attend?
In the chamber board.
And the chamber board? Did he attend?
Spare.
So they had a third person that, they were considering, and that they felt like it was a really qualified candidate as well. So they're going to have that, person maybe an alternate, they're gonna find a way to try and look at their bylaws to see if they can incorporate them as well. I spoke with that person who was more than happy to do whatever he could just to be helpful and be there, maybe even doing some type of like at large if they can, so. If someone wasn't in attendance and he was there, whatever they're going to their bylaws, but finding a way to not let a qualified good candidate go to the wayside.
I have a lot of trouble nominating Brendan, because we reached out, he was a member at large for Dover on Bytown, and we couldn't even get a response back if we could
you know, put it in person, and I know Eric, and I was frustrated. Eric was frustrated, it was rough, because we had trouble making forms. So,
Are they recommending these appointments?
these two, yes.
So. I feel the same way you do, but they're gonna have to work with their trustees. We're not gonna have to work with their trustees, so this is what they're approaching us with for the appointments, and then they'll find out that you're letting it be aired, that hopefully he'll show up, it's in the minutes, and I move for both appointments. And
There,
Do you know why the person who they're considered to be alternate, was there a specific reason why they ranked them third out of the three, or?
I think it was like they were wanted to have like someone with a younger family that was going to be part of it, someone that has been here for a while, that was Kathy, and that's just the way that they're board. That's how they decided, they thought I think Brendan also brought a marketing background, a PR background, and they were hopeful he would bring some more attention, people out to. And he, I know he at least was just at the previous trustees meeting, so it wasn't attendance there.
Okay.
So. And this
Well,
is-
I would say that you should probably delay the concerns, because it's not just one.
agreed.
Mhm. Okay, any other comments?
No.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
I'm sorry.
Joe made the motion and Scott seconded.
yep,
And they'll actually be filling out their terms until town meeting.
okay, so go, and
And
then
then
that,
they'll be allowed to
Okay.
fill out the remainder of the terms. Each.
so you're just.
Yeah.
Good, good. Okay, new business, review the MERP mini grant agreement. Yes, Jeanette, please.
Okay, well, I signed up for that and we got it, so. Yeah, $4,000 mini grant, the MERP stands for Municipal Energy Resilience Program. We were approved for $4,000. You need to, I did go over the fields that they were looking at. And they're correct. You just need an authorized appropriate municipal authority to sign on that page.
And this is for building services and for. I'm kind of confused what this actually. We can use the money for, is it outreach or is it?
I think there was some stipulations there. One is for like some public meetings with perhaps a consultant on this topic.
Outreach and
Yeah,
education.
basically not anything structural or. So, but I think if we get the ball rolling with this, perhaps we can, there'll be the grant opportunities.
Well, like when we just did energy care this past. week.
Okay. Something along those lines.
Yes, okay,
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, to educate the public, it's great in a local way. So, does somebody want to, any questions about the MERP grant? So somebody want to make a motion that,
Make a motion that we authorize the select board chair to sign the MERP mini grant agreement.
second by Dan. All in favor?
And if we want to have a conversation about how we can spend, so. And then, engagement.
Sure. Another meeting or?
No, do you want me to, what I'm just envisioning is maybe. Here, yeah, taking them to our next one, and make some, come up with a couple of recommendations that then we can do.
Yeah, and we also, I know, along the same topic, I had sent out an email about, what Passive was doing, the LCT. They're conducting property surveys of structures, which is, totally free for us as members. I have not yet been contacted by them, and so we were gonna be contacted this week. They have not. A representative is supposed to contact us to set that up.
Great, good, thanks, Jeanette. Now we have the Ridge Project parking lot discussion. So where do we start on this?
Nikki, do you want me to spin a little bit since I wrote that email? Would you like me to just kind of paraphrase for the public's?
Yeah, we'd love to have that, please.
Sure. So basically, as I was going through kind of like the final RFP package, I reviewed actually the map that's up there that I received in the Forest Service received shortly after our board meeting walkthrough. So it was actually, I was happy to see it because I think Andy and Eric might laugh a little bit. I wanted to put a parking lot kind of up the hill a little bit because is it okay if I just? Sure, thank you. So this was the part, this is the parking lot that we submitted together to A&R, which is the shoulder. Okay. So it would just be basically here. The town property. And that's what I had the understanding was what the parking lot was gonna be. Until, you know, again, I'm not great at this stuff, so I took kind of a final look, even though I had it from lots of apologies. And I was unaware of any easements. So I saw these, checked 2 signed easements, okay? So I wrote a letter to the select board just saying it was basically 2 things. First of all, I didn't submit this to the state on the town's behalf. And also I did not see permission from the United States Forest Service. We had some emails going back and forth, and I believe Andy did submit and Eric and received permission from the state that was okay. And I think we were just in a little bit of a waiting period to see what the Forest Service thought, because there was an understanding that very well could have been in the Somerset IRP. From the way I'm reading the Forest Service's response, this was not in the Somerset IRP. However, it seems that they provided us a path forward that we could, you know, in fact, get that permission. I think that's a great lot. If I saw that lot, you know, a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have been arguing for the different lot. I think that'll really serve our purpose as well. So, you know, I have an idea of moving forward, but again, this is the town's easements and the town's property. So wanted to see what collectively, you know, you think is the best idea for moving forward with the parking lot.
Okay, Eric.
I was just gonna chime in, so I let you know, I let Casey at the Forest Service know, myself, Andy, Travis, Merrill Mundell have all been involved. We went up, they went up, I wasn't on that site survey, but Merrill went up, you know, resurvey just to make sure that everything was where it needed to be. We are putting those temporary spots, you know, the first spots in. I think that starts as soon as the pre-cash shows up. So that's going to, those spots will live on obviously the shoulder as well as the Jacob Brown easement. So they will be on the south end of what you're looking at there on the map. Okay. Nothing obviously will touch United States Forest Service land because this question got brought up. So that's why we brought Merrill up there.
Yep.
To make sure that, you know, we didn't end up putting dirt on USFS land. But basically, with the way those easements are set up, I mean, we could be putting parking spots on either one of those easements as well as the shoulder that we own. We just can't use that middle piece from the USFS until, like Casey said, we go through that process to seek those permissions and things like that. But as of right now, per the request of the select board, those initial spots to get people off of the road, you know, while with the ologists, you guys, anybody who's in there flagging, those spots are going in within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's, so I was always under that impression, because, you know, again, we supported that. Really, let's call it the shoulder for lack of a better term. The easements, again, I was unaware of. So then the easements will be built then. So then we'll put the spots in the shoulder, and the easements are just the shoulder.
Just the spots that we're putting in now are, in order to get them well enough off the road, we've used that easement that we have from Jacob Brown as part of the design.
And not the I'm sorry.
The Bear,
Not
it's not on the Bear Crossing property at this point. The initial spots, again, we're you know, per the request of our police chief and search and rescue and a number of other groups, you know, just to get people off the road, so that while we're working on that property, or anyone is walking around and they're able to get off that property. So nothing will be built on the Bears Crossing property, or, you know, easement or shoulder end right now. There wouldn't be anything on our shoulder piece in the middle, nor the USFS land. The only spots that are going in will be on our shoulder and the Jacob Brown easement, the southernmost third of what you're looking at on that.
And that is 2 spots?
I don't remember.
It's 4 or 5. 4 or 5, yeah.
And then, so. Well, then where are we with RFP? You know, can we give an update on that?
Yeah, the RFP's in Casey's hands. That was in her last email. She was waiting to see kind of where this stood. Because I mean, I think this is a great lot. So I'm of the opinion, organization of the opinion that we should still maybe try to find a way forward to making this lot happen.
Well, how to slow things down?
Could I just ask a question?
Sure.
When you say this lot, what are you talking about? Lot?
I'm talking about that lot that we received these architectural drawings of as a final product
Okay,
for the project.
what we have scoped out on that paper.
Correct.
With that parking is a great plan.
Correct.
So I'll make sure.
Yep.
We're on the same page.
Yep.
It's been a lot.
And I guess my only fear is having to start a project and then kind of revisit possible permitting. I'm not an expert, so I'm not saying I am, but I don't think, I mean, if we can get a couple spots in that shoulder, like we spoke about last spring, I don't think we need any more than that right now. But to possibly, you know, and I didn't see what went back to the state, but you know, I trust they're good. But to kind of, it looks like it won't be that much trouble from Casey's email. Then again, I've never dealt, you know, with permitting. My organization has, let me retract that. She made it seem in that email like it's not going to be a huge lift. You know, perhaps we build those on the shoulder. I mean, build it on Jacob Brown, great. I don't see what that really, but let's continue to try to get this. I just think that this is it's a good plan. It would probably serve the project, you know, for the future and forever, instead of, you know, maybe, I don't know if it would annoy the United States Forest Service, but those are just my concerns.
And
So you all received Casey's emails and you saw my response and you saw Tommy's email, right? Are you all up on that? So I'd like to just ask to explain to you the timeline of what was approved here. I'll be as quick as I possibly can. I just think it's important that you know the truth. And everybody is clear on what happened. Casey's email doesn't reflect what happened. I don't think it's her fault she wasn't there, but it doesn't. And I just want you to understand the process and that we went through and what that represents. Would you like me to do that?
Yes.
Alright. So. Casey, in her email said, and Tommy's idea was that. You know, what was approved in the Somerset IRP. Was a parking area completely within the town's right of way. Right, did you read that? Right, all within the town's right of way. And that, you know, we had a meeting with, Merrill Mundell and Travis, decided we needed more land, and that's the first they heard of this point. So. Basically, right? Basically. What happened was. Let's see. And you saw in my response that I quoted an email from a woman named Carol Knight. Remember that? All right, so. This is my email with Carol Knight in 2017. And I included her last response in my explanation that I sent out in response to Tommy. And that wasn't clear enough, I didn't think. So I included the previous emails that she was responding to. So on June 14, 2017, hi Andy, happy summer, blah, blah, blah. Is the proposal to build the lot on private land, i.e. lands not owned by the Forest Service, and keep the trail at its current location? Andy, same day. Looks like we would need to put it partially on Bears Crossing land. Partially on National Forest land and partially on Jacob Brown's land. Her reply. I did some checking with our realty lands person, blah, blah, blah. I will have to run this by David Franklin for his approval, as he is the decision maker for the Forest Service. He's the district ranger. 1 month later. Good news, Andy, I got the green light from David Franklin. So this 15-car parking lot will be on Forest Service and Bears Crossing land and will be included in the Somerset project. Right? That's pretty clear that the Forest Service understood that the parking was going to use their land, Jacob Brown's land, and Bears Crossing land, and not all on the town's land. Pretty darn clear, right? So, I have a couple more emails, right, where they ask us to pay for a survey to show the ownership of the property. Carol Knight, 2017, the answer to the question of the surveyor is that the town needs to pay for it. Okay, pay for the survey, there it is, right? Here's a copy of that. Then in 2018, so Carol Knight was in Casey's position at the time, right? She was the recreation specialist. Subsequently replaced by Emily Lauderdale, subsequently replaced by Casey. David Franklin was a Manchester ranger, district ranger, who approved the IRP, replaced by Martina Barnes and now somebody else. So Carol Knight was phasing into another position. Emily Lauderdale had just arrived. So this is the email where I email, this is completed. Emily says to me, Andy, we got to write the Somerset IRP so it can go out for comment. So we need the survey that we asked you to pay for, showing the ownership of the property and where the spaces will be on that property so that we can write the IRP. I say, okay, Emily. And I email that survey right there to her, along with a clean copy of Merrill's survey. This one showing all the parking spaces so they can write the Somerset IRP. The Somerset IRP is a 180-page document. Okay, Emily didn't write it, the district ranger didn't write it, I didn't write it. Some Forest Service lawyer wrote it because most of it is the biggest logging project in Vermont 50 years, and it's gonna be challenged, so they have lawyers write it, right? I need to give this to the lawyers, Andy, so she gives this to the lawyers, right? Oh my gosh. She gives this to the lawyers and then the Somerset IRP is written by the lawyers and goes out for public comment. All right, here's a little handout that they gave out at public meetings. Instead of handing people 180 pages, they handed people, hey, you're interested in recreation, here's a little handout that gives you the synopsis. Right, at the public meeting after they wrote it. So it's a little different than the approval, it's just, hey, public, here's what we're looking at, and you can look on that second page there. New trail handle road, develop a new trail, trailhead and parking lot on national forest land and neighboring private property off Handle Road. I'm assuming Emily did write that. Right, but when they wrote, the lawyers wrote the Somerset IRP approval, right? They distilled all of this complicated land ownership, right? This town, Jacob, Bears Crossing, Forest Service, all of this, and all these spaces and lines and numbers and dimensions into 3 sentences for the approval in the IRP, right? And that's on page 2, connected actions. The parking area and trailhead would be constructed off Handle Road in the town of Dover. The gravel parking area would be approximately 150 by 25 feet deep long, accommodate approximately 15 vehicles, parking area 13 vehicles. The parking area would be within the road right of way and private properties to allow access to the national forest system land, blah, blah, blah. 3 sentences we get, right? So the lawyer looks at this and they say, because I gave it to him. Because I emailed it to them, because they had full knowledge that this was the plan. Because we did everything they asked us to do in order for this to be approved in the Somerset IRP. They looked at this and they said, we're gonna get to that logging stuff, but what 3 sentences are we gonna put in the Somerset IRP for this approval? And they said, okay, look it's 150 by 25 feet. Okay, 150 by 25 feet. The parking lot is not 150 by 25 feet. Ironically, that is the dimensions of the land that is not owned by the town of Dover that is used for the parking. If the parking were on the town of Dover's land and were 25 by 150 feet, it would stick halfway out into the traveling portion of Handle Road. Okay, those dimensions make no sense without that piece of national forest land. They also said it was a 13-car parking. All the correspondence, every email, every document created by them until then says 10 to 15 car parking lot. The 10 to 15 car parking lot. 10 to 15 car parking lot. It becomes 13 spaces when I email this to Emily and their lawyers read from it as they're writing the Somerset IRP approval because it's 13 spaces. Because we needed an access point and we needed a handicap space and it became 13 spaces. Now, this approval means nothing, it doesn't make any sense without this piece of property. What they neglected to do was say, hey, 0.03, 3/100ths of an acre of National Forest Service land will also be used for 3 parking spaces. When they distilled this into 3 sentences, they neglected to put that in there. Now, under a very legalistic interpretation of what was improved. Oh, you never told us about this. We just heard about this like a few months ago. For real? For reals? Look in your inbox. Sorry. Okay. So then final IRP decision, right? Then I was an idiot, okay? So ETA wants to talk to Act 250 and say, hey, do we need an Act 250 permit for this parking? They want a plan for the park. I talked to Merrill Mundell, the guy who designed this. Merrill, I'm worried that this is gonna trigger an Act 250 because part of it is on Bears Crossing land and they have an Act 250 permit. I'm worried about that, Merrill says, well, Andy, because the travel portion of the right of way is cheated over here, we can squeeze it all on town land. I say, well, Merrill, all right, let's do that, at least for now, right? Get Act 250's approval for the parking all on town land, and if we want to expand it later, we go back to Act 250, if we need Act 250, we go through the process. I sent Tommy, or I sent Eric, and Eric sent Tommy, the map you saw, which I have here, of that I drew, you know, on a computer image, a parking area only on the town right of way, right? They applied to the Act 250, Act 250 said, no, you don't need a permit. That's here, okay? Then, talk to Merrill, give the map to them. Okay, the Act 250, all on town land is approved, the jurisdictional opinion that you don't need one. Then, in the fall of 2021, I meet with Travis and Merrill. And Travis and Merrill and I go out there and, hey, the plan is, here's the stakes, we're gonna put it on, all on town land this time. And Merrill talking to Travis, put their heads together and said, you know what, Andy, we can't do that after all. We need more room. Merrill was mistaken. Easy enough mistake to make. He thought we could do it, talking with Travis, couldn't do it. I said, ah, darn it, that stinks. So in January of last year, I submit this to Act 250 and say, hey, you approved the JO for the parking all on town land. Here's the picture you approved. Here's this new picture. Here's the easements on Bears Crossing land that we're going to use. I sent you all that stuff. I said, you know, do we need an Act 250? Because now we have to include the easements. Act 250 says, no, Andy, you don't. Great news. All right. Now, as far as I know, the Forest Service, this is all the Forest Service knows about. I dreamed this up, that we were going to put it on town land for a 6-month period. It didn't work out. We're back to the original plan. It was the IRP was written from. Okay. So I resubmit and they approve the new Act 250 permit here. I then emailed to SOBTA not 2 months ago, but over a year ago, this. Eric is copied on that email.
Andy, I just want to ask a quick question.
Yeah.
Because you said, in January 22, you said they approved it. It's not an approval, it's that they said you didn't need.
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to be.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I caught it 2 months
So-
ago. You submitted over a year ago. I reflected that in the notes. I didn't see
Great.
it, yeah.
Okay, in your email, you said it was March 22nd. And that was when Eric sent it to you this year. But I sent it to you on March 25th of 2022, but that's good that we understand that now. So basically, this represents the understanding of the Forest Service and myself regarding the park. The blue is all the parking on the easements, national forest, town land. We understood that per all of that information up to here, when I made my silly decision to get Act 250 to approve it all on town land and then maybe ask them about it later for the rest of it. Then when we decided that couldn't work, I went back to Act 250 and the plan. What Casey's understanding is, I don't know where she gets her information, she wasn't there, neither was SOBTA, I don't know where they get their information, but is that the plan was per the town and the National Forest Service, it would all be built on town land for all these years, and then Travis and I and Merrill met and we changed our minds, and now we need more room, so we need to apply for another permit. And in the end, who cares? We need a parking lot. And the best way to provide parking is to have sufficient room and include this piece of national forest. What doesn't really work for me is hey, you guys didn't tell us, and we only saw it, a few months ago. That doesn't work for me. If anybody made a mistake, it was the Forest Service. And I don't need to point that out, and I'm not mad at them, and it doesn't matter. But it wasn't our fault, it was their fault, and I don't think we need to apply for anything. If we can build, you have the authority to build parking spaces on your land and on these easements which were given to you. 10 spaces. You don't have the authority to build 3 spaces on national forest land. If they want this at some point, they can come ask you to build it for them. You say yes. But why are we applying for a permit? There are other similar projects, right? I looked at the schedule of proposed actions for the Forest Service under, for special use permits. The town of Killington's looking for a special use permit because they built the town office parking lot 1/100ths of an acre onto national forest land without their permission. So they're correcting that with a special use permit. But there's a number of other projects, including in Manchester at the Library Falls parking area, where they're working with the town, they're building the parking lot right in their right of way. They're not asking them to apply for a special use permit. What the bottom line, in my opinion, is that the people at Dover, right, and through you, have 10 parking spaces they can put to access this area. This piece, let's talk about it at a future date with the Forest Service. Build one side of it, if that's all you want to build. Build all of it and block the other side off with rocks if that's too many spaces until they get the trails in. However you want to do it. I think you really need to build this project, the parking area, regardless of what happens with the trails. There was talk through this process of figuring out what was approved and what wasn't, that hey, this could sink the whole project. Well, first of all, 3/100ths of an acre of Forest Service land being parking is going to sink the whole project. There's not much chance the whole project is going to happen because this is only the first hurdle. The Somerset IRP was a high level approval. There's going to be other hurdles, right? Secondly, if they don't go through with the trails project, right? 20% of this town is national forest. 20%. Is there one sign, one trailhead, one official map, anything? When you call them on the phone because there's a problem in your national forest in your town, we don't have the time, resources, or personnel. That's okay. I love the fact there's that much time in national forest in town, but we need to be able to access the thousands of acres on the ridge. This is the only public access. We need to build that parking. The trails are there already. Not that we want to use them prior to them constructing the trail project. But if they're talking about sinking the whole project, this needs to go in anyway. We need people to be able, besides the neighbors, besides Bears Crossing condo owners, to be able to use the trails that are currently there on 20% of our property that we don't tax. It's ours, belongs to us, and you can't keep us off of it. And you have the authority to build this. Don't tell me it's our fault, and don't tell me we need a permit. Maybe I'll feel differently later, I'm a little worked up. But, the best way forward might not be a special use permit. It might be an agreement. At the big meeting with Casey and Holly Knox, if you remember, zoomed in, she's the Finger Lakes Green Mountain National Forest, big time recreation person who answered a lot of your questions. The project that she said you should look to understand what your project might look like was a project called Sherburne Trails in Killington, where on a town road, it's a new project, it's not an existing project, and it's off of a town road, and the Forest Service put a parking lot on Forest Service land right off of the town, right of way, accessed by the town right of way. The parking was built by the town of Killington and is maintained by the town of Killington. My question would be, do they have a special use permit? Or do they have an agreement? What do they have? What are the options? What kind of conditions are we looking at? We need to, before you give up what the people of Dover have here, by through any official process, you need to really be careful and understand that this is valuable as it sits. If it's an agreement, if it's a permit, whatever, but keep your eyes open. You remember the last time somebody wanted to permit the parking area, it was SoBTA. Right, they wanted to apply for a new project through Eric's economic development process. Even though it was our project for the past 20 years or whatever. After that approval, they would be in charge of the parking project. You guys said, no, it's not a new project, and we're not putting it through that, and you're not the applicant, and blah, blah, blah. You know, maybe I'm a little paranoid, right? But, you know, I don't, you read the emails. I was there. Who else was there that you can talk to? Nobody. Why are they telling me what I did after I told them I didn't? Why? Where's that narrative coming from? I don't believe, to be fair, it's coming from Tom. I don't believe it's coming from Catherine. But who are they believing? Who's wringing their hands and the sky is falling and there's big problems and the town's screwed up? Who is that? They can answer that question, but I can't. And I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, well, I appreciate Andy's passion, and he's certainly done a lot through the years. I don't think anyone can bring anybody without a little bit of a difference to you. And this is all our meeting when Casey was involved, and I'm not defending her. I think this is all she thought. Okay, so that's amazing, all the information. Again, my organization didn't know any of it. Casey, although her predecessors certainly to Andy's emails and burden of proof there, they were aware of it. Okay, new ranger comes in, this is all she knew. Okay, who cares? A little bit of a different opinion than Andy. I don't think this is a big deal. It's a big deal. I can see it being insulting when you put in that much work and all of a sudden you have the rug pulled out from underneath you. I appreciate that. That being said, I'm just looking at the future, not the past. We have 2 easements. Thank you. You know, I think we can get this third one. If you think it makes sense to build these 2 while we get that, great. Also, I'm coming to be fair. You know, my fiduciary isn't to the town of Dover. You know, we have other projects with the Forest Service, so I'm a little more apt to probably play a little nicer and be more careful. You know, it just coming from the town of Dover's point of view. Andy may be very well right. Don't give up what you have. Okay, makes me a little nervous as SOBTA with other projects we have with them, but I don't think I really need to opine anymore. I think you understand how I feel and my opinion on what's best moving forward, but there's no figure points in here and there's no trying to go backwards. It's just look. Apparently, the United States Forest Service is saying you don't have permission. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe the town can take that up with them, and we don't need a permit. But right now, it looks like we do. So moving forward, you know, what does the town want to do? And I'll take your direction.
Joe.
I'm gonna try and keep this brief and direct. Okay, we as a town have not alone invested time on this board, going through this with Andy for years. We have invested a lot of money. Okay, so I want to see results as number one, a taxpayer, as a select board member going through this. We did everything that we have been asked for this project. Our search and rescue team was developed because of this project. We've spent a lot of time and money, and I'm saying it's correct, isn't Andy, was for this
Yes,
project.
that's
this
correct,
search and-
yes.
Which is good overall, but we've made it so we can do search and rescue in that particular parcel. Okay, so my concern is, and I get what you're saying, Tom, I get a little nervous when you start talking about fiduciary responsibility for SOVTA and all this other stuff. My fiduciary responsibility right now is to get this project moving. And nothing has happened but roadblocks that shouldn't be there for what we're trying to get done. I want that, and Travis knows, every time I see Travis, I want that parking there. I will make everybody in this town know that I want that parking there, because until something's done, it's gonna help know that we're serious and we're not sitting back, spending all this time and money for something that people are not reading, doing their research, like Andy has done through this whole process. Okay, so I'll be honest with you, Tom, I don't like the way that you talk to us as a board back and forth with this. Number one, okay, that's the bottom line of this. Okay, what I would like, and I'm not saying the word, I would like to take this damn project back. So VTA, we don't need you. I'm gonna say that straight out because nothing's happened. Okay, we are invested in this program. I'm not saying this in a mean way. I want something to happen. Not being involved with these quarterly meetings, not having updates on this. I don't know what you're doing for us. Okay, we are the ones that invested in this project. Okay, so fiduciary responsibility on my side is something has to happen.
And if Joe's not been updated, he was the liaison.
I have not been updated. He has chosen. I haven't had anything until today he's here.
Eric, we've been providing updates if there's anything to update within.
And there hasn't been any updates, and Eric hasn't updated that you have updated with nothing. Yeah, well, I'm just stating how I feel for the town that. Let it be known. As a select board member and as the public and as a taxpayer.
Okay. So. How much of a parking lot are we gonna build?
I want to build the whole thing. And be done with it. If I could,
Are we gonna build 10?
My understanding, if I remember correctly from the meeting we had at the site visit, was they didn't want all of the spaces built the right way until all of the surveying and planning and all the ologists had been out there and made sure that we were going to, that the project was going to be able to be pursued. So if by putting in 13 spaces, we would be inviting more people to park there than they were prepared necessarily for. So the conversation that I remember from that day was we were going to put in 2, 3, 4 parking spaces so that the people who had to get onto the land to do all the surveying and work could without parking on the side of Handle Road. And it was a safety issue. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that. I'm just saying that was my recollection, was we wanted to limit the number of spaces that we created initially because of that reason. So,
that's why we're doing this with Jacob Brown.
well, that's what you just said.
I know.
I mean,
I'm just telling you that I know we have such a huge amount of people there that maybe if we just start moving the project along, and people, public opinion will come out that they want to utilize that. Just, we've spent years trying to do it the right way. So I'd like to finish it the right way. That's all I'm saying.
Andy.
So, what you previously approved was for Travis to build this parking here on this easement and on the town right of way. Excluding both the National Forest 25 by 50 foot area and the Bears Crossing 25 by 50 foot area for now. part of our easements with the neighbors. Is a landscape plan. We have an improved landscape plan for Jacob. Bears Crossing is more difficult because it's a board.
So we're building the five.
Yeah, we can, I assume at some point this summer. We will have a landscape plan for this, but we still need to talk to Bears Crossing and get their official approval. Per the easement, just so you know that in making your decisions.
Our plan is, I think, is to do the Jacob Brown. They're the only, I don't want to say it, the only, we're just kind of waiting.
We're waiting for a piece of precast.
Yeah.
And then we will be building
Yeah.
that.
He's on it.
Five.
Either, they were pouring it this week. They said it needed a couple days to cure, so we didn't pull the anchors out, so.
Yep.
End of this week, early next, I should see the concrete.
You need help, ask me.
Okay.
I'll be out there with the traffic, so stop, go. No.
Parting thoughts on this at this moment? Anybody?
Move forward.
Well, my only parting thought is, and because it's in Tom Oakley's hands, is we need a meeting. We need a meeting.
And Joe, I can't control at what rate of response
Okay.
I get from the Forest Service.
You're more than welcome to see me with any responses down to the National Forest Service. Or if Eric, if you feel more comfortable going that way. That you are sending.
Yep.
And you are getting responses back, so we have an email trail to keep this project moving along. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'd like to have that meeting with this board and your board. Because we seem to be able to talk to one person at a time, and you have all of us here. So I would like to have it, everybody. Forest Service, WTA. Dover Select Board and interested people. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is that something you'd like me to set up, Nikki?
Yeah, I do, because we need to get off from this. Move forward, move back, move forward, move back. We've got to move forward, and we have to try to do it together. And so we all have to kind of get on the same page. And so I feel like we do a herky jerky thing. We go, we say we're gonna do something, then we don't do it, then we're gonna do it. Oh, no, we can't do it. And so we just all need to say, this is the way it is. And we're taking the first step right here. We're gonna put in this five car apartment. And I think that we all need to hear it, and then we can ask the rest of your board. You're the one person sitting here, and there's a lot of other people involved in your organization.
Not as many, and they have different jobs.
Mhm.
It's my job to interface with the town. And to be here, that's my job.
But then if there are other comments, it would speed things up.
There wouldn't be when it comes to that.
Nobody would say anything else.
We make decisions and then I present them, and it would be easier to have me here than it would be to get them. And I'd be happy to set up the Forest Service, which is to be clear, because again, I'm not as familiar with town politics. It has to be in this forum, correct? So if I get the Forest Service, I'd have to schedule it for a more.
You would have, if it's too much, and tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
We can set up as me being the liaison to this project and Eric involved in the project. Sure, we don't need to have the board.
Okay.
I can bring that update to the board. Okay, so you don't have to be, I'm just saying for the next meeting,
Fair.
for the next time to meet.
Yeah. And Joe, that's kind of what I was doing with this email, because Eric asked me a few times, do you want this to be on the agenda? I said, not really. I said, I just kind of want to have a conversation. So that's kind of what I was getting at there. I didn't necessarily want to have, I tried very hard actually for about the last month and a half not to have a meeting. I just wanted to have a conversation.
I would like to have, I see the emails back and forth between Casey. I just want to okay, what's the expectations, the next hurdle that will give us.
Sure.
Permission to that.
And I'm not passing the buck here because Casey will tell you the same thing. I have waited months and months and months for a rough draft in this winter early, okay? got the final draft, and I'm waiting. And this was delayed because she did express she wanted to check to see if there was permission. So, you know, it's not that there's nothing to tell necessarily, because until this RFP is approved by them or they come back with their comments, there really has been nothing done, because there's nothing else to do, unfortunately. But that's just the facts of it.
That's why we have to move the RFP forward.
Yeah, and it's in their hands, so they need to come back.
Andy,
So the purpose of the meetings is not simply for information to flow from the Forest Service and SOVTA to the town. It's not about, hey, we reached to this point and now let's fill the town in. Why couldn't I have done this at a quarterly meeting?
But Andy, I would say to you, we had meetings and I never even knew about this. I mean, we looked at this map for a year. I'm talking about a parking lot.
You didn't have a meeting with me in that map, and we should go through the
Andy, we
chair.
had meetings here with Eric and myself, and we talked about the parking lot. And I never had that when we had those meetings.
So you got the map when I emailed it to you at your request
Correct.
over a year ago.
Correct.
Okay.
But the year prior, I was working on this.
So prior to that, not a year prior, you were working off that to get the Act 250 jurisdictional autonomy. Yes, you were. And I just explained all of that. But the Forest Service was working off that map since 2017. So
But not,
Even
not
though-
the ranger that had the seat at that time.
the ranger who approved this project worked off of that map to approve the project.
that's
Now-
confusing,
Yes.
to me, frankly,
Now-
because do they not have records? I mean, it's like.
It's a great question. It's a great question.
So if I give you this map that you asked these people to pay for, and it delineates where the parking is going and exactly what the ownership is, and we give it to you so that you can write the IRP approval, right? And then you come back and you write an email like, we did, hold on, Ray, hold on.
Hold on, everything,
I'm good.
okay.
So
There's
I
a
wasn't,
law-
I wasn't finished. Don't I get to finish,
Okay,
right?
Yes.
If that is the case, how do you write an email and say, we didn't see that until 2 months ago, after I've told you you did? Honestly, dealing with SOVTA and now the Forest Service, and this is very disappointing to me. I'm often in the position of feeling gaslighted, right? That's a popular term nowadays, right? After this was approved by the Forest Service, by the District Ranger, David Francombe and Emily Lauderdale. Emily Lauderdale and David Francombe and I built this project. Carol Knight, prior to Emily Lauderdale, the three of us did this. All these emails and meetings. Emily and David are no longer here. David's out west somewhere doing some other big project. Emily left the Forest Service. When I say, hey, the plan was that the town would put out the RFP and we would be in charge of the parking lot. What I get in response is the National Forest Service doesn't work with towns. You recall that? Right? But so how come all those meetings? Oh, you mean, Andy, the meetings with the people who are no longer here? All right, okay. All right, you know, and then I get the email, Andy, we've never seen this. I write back, you have. The response is, actually, we haven't, and you're gonna need a permit. You did, though. And you, everybody telling me what happened wasn't there. Honestly, you guys do what you want. And hopefully you make better decisions than I will, okay? I say, build what you have the authority to build. Do not talk to SOBTA or the Forest Service. You'll know what's going on when you see it happening. This is what it's gonna be for the next 5 years, right here in this room. Has anything changed? The last time SOBTA was in this room, they wanted you to sign a contract. They told you two things. One, they spent 5,100 volunteer hours in the town forest. 5,100. 2.5 years, full-time, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. I was there, I was on the board, and I checked their work on an almost daily basis. Tommy wasn't there, I don't think he made that up. Somebody did, though, and put those words in his mouth. In my opinion, and I have no proof, it's not even an exaggeration. Okay, and it came from the same people who claimed to have 600 hours into 2 grant applications. Think about it, okay? Think about it, get out your calculator. The second thing they said was that you would need an Act 250 permit at Horace Hill if you did not sign their contract, or you would need a seat on the Trails and Greenways Council and Rule 71. They threw in a lot of details, all false. Not a shred of truth. It changed the mood of the room. Go back and watch the video. You guys were skeptical. Our lawyer told us not to sign it. All of a sudden, hey, Act 250, we don't want to go through that at Horace Hill. Let's send it back to the lawyer and see if we can get something to sign. Not true. I don't know what's going on there, but there's something that isn't right. And I'm done. Thanks.
Edie,
Thank you. I've come to these meetings off and on over the years, and I frankly don't see why the select board just doesn't decide to go and build those parking lots. Just do it. Just do it. And then, you know, see, I can't comprehend why not. Why can't you just vote to go ahead and do the parking lots, you know, in the land that you own and whatever, in the easements? Just do it.
thank you. I think that this board has said we're gonna build this park. I think that the issue that I'm hearing stronger now is what does SOBTA bring to the table in terms of our confidence, our moving forward. I heard it from Joe, I heard it from Andy. I don't know. I don't know, and I don't necessarily feel like we're partners in this at all. So I think everybody should process that and think about that. But we're gonna move ahead and build a parking lot, and maybe we'll build a second one later on, depending on what the weather's like and when the plantings come. So that's where we're at right now. But everybody on the board should really consider, is this a good partnership? Because I don't feel like it's a partnership these days.
Control to me.
So, but step back, think about it, don't. And we can revisit these. So thank you all. There's a lot of tension, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of desire to get something done, and that makes everybody get, you know, just on edge here, and I can feel it. I can feel it in the public people who were just watching this meeting. So please consider hard, and the board will make a decision on where we go with this and our partnership. And so
And I'll just thank the board for their time and, just say I have a lot of this stuff does precede me. Got involved, I'm trying to run the best organization. We have a lot of success in the area, with other organizations, other municipalities that live here, a lot of respect for all of you. And so in that same sense, I respect your opinion. If you found this not to be a favorable partnership, there'd be no hard feelings.
we thank you for coming and showing up at the meeting and being, in our words, the only thing we see is the face of SOBTA. Because you're the one that could have done when one's.
There's a lot of work being done
in the woods and all around that I have nothing to do with, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, good night. And you, good night.
See you, Tommy.
Okay. All right, we're only have 35 minutes time. Economic development, the library story walk. Do I not see? I think you kind of gave us the.
No, I know. All right, so library story block. Shannon, do you want to cover this one or do you want me to?
No, it's fine. The story walk would like to, or the library would like to put the story walk back in. They did change the displays. They are not glass this year. They are plexiglass. And the design has been strengthened a little bit. Same locations on the trail near the park, probably just spaced out a little bit more. And they just wanted to get your okay to put them in by the end of the month, and they'll come down in August.
Any questions about the library story walk? All right, next item we have is the do it and. No, I don't think we need to approve it. They did it last year. Right.
I think it was more of an information piece.
Oh, yeah.
We had really positive feedback on it. It's something we'd like to see
I'm
done.
glad to do it twice glad.
It was just us letting you know that they're going back and they are building.
Okay.
better.
It's time. It's defined time period. Next are the do it applications for 23-24.
So Shannon sent you everything in the email. You know, you see what the projects are. We are actually over budget, 55 total, Shannon, that we were approved, that was in the budget, correct? Yes, so we had a max of 55,000 in the budget for this program. That would have funded 10 fully priced projects at $5,000 a piece. So we had more interest than that, and these are the applications that came through. They were presented to the board. Our recommendations have been made to you either to, you know, agree to the projects as they're presented and fund them all, or you know, take a look at the projects as they were presented. That's on merit.
Anybody have any questions about some of the projects? Or any of the projects or all of the projects?
Well, they had some concerns themselves.
What do you mean they had some concerns?
Well, Shannon and Eric pointed out a couple of concerns
Yeah.
with products.
Yeah.
So I think on some recommendations, we do need to look, and sometimes we need to not always say yes. Well, I'm saying.
And
I'm
those,
not trying, and I don't wanna, it's a very hard thing to do. We've had to do it in the past for things, so. I hate to do the very bad news.
so the two projects that Shannon and Eric initially flagged were the Gray Ghost, because it's a kiddie pool in the back of the property and not visible to the Route 100, which is or a major road, which is a requirement of the Do It project money. We did at one point give money for the playground, also not visible from Route 100 at the same facility. But that doesn't, and
That should not make us do it again.
no, and the other one is paving that is not visible from the road at Tom's Motors, WV maintenance. So those are the two that we're questioning in terms of their visibility off a major road. But then I had a question myself about, we have nothing in our economic development, do it program guidelines about demolition and removing a building. That is not at this moment a commercial building, and has not at this moment in many moments been a commercial building. And that is the 4 North Street property by Amy Pritchard and John Smith. They want to take the building down. And they want the town to pay $5,000 towards that. Well, they came in one day and asked for us to help them build it before we had it rebuilt, so. It's we aren't in the demolition business as far as I know. Eric.
In speaking with them, so their initial thought was to have, because it's in, you know, historic building and things like that, was to have help to rehabilitate the building and then do something with the building as it sits. After having the building reviewed by contractors and things, it's come to their attention that there's, at this point, no saving the building. It's basically condemnable at this point, which has led them to believe that their only option is to knock the building down. They're looking into their options now because it sits very close to a number of power lines, and it's a pretty involved scenario to take the building down. No, do it does not typically cover demolition of buildings, especially when they're not considered.
Yeah.
Have we confirmed that the contract to save the building is not worth saving?
I took them at their word.
Okay. Scales building is the building where the horses were turned around, that went from the Williamsville General Store there, which carried the coach that's sitting in the Smithsonian Institute in the mail division of that.
Maybe they should reach out to the historic preservation.
So I've worked with John, and sorry, I didn't interrupt. I've worked with John and Amy because that's part of getting our village center designation down there, was including those buildings as well. So there are options, it's just, it's not, I don't know that it was up to what they are looking for in order to.
Well,
Second opinion,
the building was in a better condition when they came in looking for money, but we didn't have a program. And we told them we didn't have a program, and a couple years later, we got a program. So.
Well, I'm just gonna say, as far as this application goes, Dan's advocating for trying to find a way to salvage it or save the building. And there's conversation about where they might go to look for that, and they're asking for demolition, so I don't see how we can improve this application. It seems premature. At best.
So then, the other side of the road, which has the post office, Dover Road and apartments, is also owned by Connery. And under our guidelines, they can only get one $5,000 grant at the most. The Dover the Moon has applied for the $5,000 grant. But a lot of the work will encompass the whole building, including the exterior, the upstairs apartments and all the downstairs and outside and plantings. And come to find out, the quote for plants comes from the owner of Dover the Moon. So Green Mountain Hostas is owned by Janet Rivers, who put the application. I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy on much of this right now at all. I had never heard of this company, and I looked it up with the Secretary of State and went to the website, and her name is all over. And I don't think we're in the business of having people sell us, put in product and then send us the bill. When it's their own company. So I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy about either one of these two, or the ones that aren't visible from. Eric.
Vicky, I think you and I had a conversation this afternoon about how, since the inception of this program, it seems that the lines have been blurred quite a bit. You know, and as Sarah stated earlier, just because we said yes before doesn't mean we need to continue to say yes. If we're going to draw those hard and fast lines, then, you know, we have to do that at some point, right? We can't work back into it, or we just continue down the same path. So if we're going to draw those hard and fast lines, we do that. You know, I think without those hard and fast lines, it's hard to tell a business owner who puts an application in whether it's something that will get approved or not, because, you know, something similar may have been approved previously, or, you know, it's just hard. So I think, you know, at least for Shannon and I's sake, and for the business owner's sake, to make sure that they're applying for projects that actually do fit within the guidelines, you know, I think if we're going to set those rules, let's set the rules. And that's going to make our life a lot easier to present projects to you that we know do fit into those parameters and can be.
I would just say to speak to the one that Vicky was talking about. For, is it Silver Moon? Yeah, Silver Moon. There. I don't think anyone foresaw the idea that we should have to say, you can't hire yourself. And put in a bid for the work under a different company that you lost the home.
It says it in the application, sweat equity does
Yeah.
not count. Does not count.
And they're basically creating sweat equity by using a different name of the company that they also own that's different than the one in the one. It doesn't feel like it was done in the most above.
So,
While we're on the topic, just because I was asked to bring this up as well, a business owner, recently purchased, the old appliance building here, just south of North Pitch Road. Has been putting a large amount of American currency into that building to bring it up to code and to update it. They stopped it, or they emailed this morning with their estimate for one of the projects that they would like to be doing, obviously a few days after the due applications have closed. They then visited me here in my office today to plead their case and said, you know, can we come talk to the select board, can we do any of these things? We settled on, after speaking to Vicky, that I would at least bring it up to you guys to see if there was any interest in extending the deadline where they're a first year business owner. They were unaware of the deadline for the project and for the program, and would like to take advantage for the project that they're going to be doing. Now, it's something that we would put on a future agenda for you to vote on, because it's not technically on tonight, but it's a question I wanted to bring up as to whether or not we end up with an agenda item.
well, if we deny these 4 projects, that's $19,000, so we're gonna have a little bit of money that we could potentially. Reopen the process for another couple of days for anybody else, or revise. And wait a little bit before we do that, let the dust settle, but we could open up and only say we have this much money.
Right. So you're saying even some of the projects as they were presented that may not be approved now, if those business owners wanted to either reapply for a different project, they might be eligible. I think you have to do it that way.
Yeah, well, I think that if we're prepared to spend the money that we put in the economic development budget. We have some that clearly are don't work in this program at all, others that may need a revision.
Agreed.
And I think we also need to be much more clear about. We need to make this even more strong, the wording in this,
Yeah.
because it really, this group has really pushed, I feel, the limit of what, I mean, I'm sorry, I feel that was not appropriate whatsoever. I'm very disappointed. So if we took this 19, because they total $19,074.42. We take those 4 off. We'll have a little bit of money to reopen.
I would also, if we were going to do that, like to make it very clear that this is not be happening on a regular
No.
basis. I mean, this is a program that's, I mean, I know it's heavy lift for Shannon, you know, to process everything coming through and get everything scanned and out to you, like it's not, you know, one of our bigger programs. So I just, when we
And
I would like it to be clear.
we need to even look at these guidelines. I think that the contractors that they use should be registered by the state.
Yep.
And I don't think several of them are.
Okay.
So they aren't really legitimate, even though you want to use local, maybe it's your best friend and you're getting a, you know, whatever. So, yeah.
Any of the invisible properties, I don't see, it doesn't fit the guidelines at all. My concern is Eastover resident and is president of the Historical Society. We have to do something to fix that corner up because it looks horrible. So,
It looks better than it did when we gave them money to do the flagpole and the work. It does look better.
I would like to offer that if you and your historical capacity would like to reach out to the property owners to discuss their options, that would be extremely beneficial to us.
Janet happens to be a new trustee to the Historical Society, FYI.
So I want to make a motion that we approve these do it projects. Okay, Big Bears Lodge, Chalet 239, Snow Creek Inn, Deerfield Valley, Deer Hill Inn, Dubberry Inn, Ekeep Sports, Farm Road Estate, JT Properties, Kitsoff Inn, Snow Goose Inn, and Snow Republic Brewery, which is paved. The parking lot is paved. Nice. So I make that motion.
I'll second your motion. That's after I told you should pay.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Got to do both aye. Okay. All right. Moving on. And an update, Eric.
Yes. These are not important, these are very important updates, but I'm going to go very quickly through them. So if you have questions after the fact, please come and talk to me, okay? Forest Hill, so the initial design is complete. Avery and Chris on the disc golf side, Brooke and Maura on the trail building side. We were all on the property 2 weeks ago. For 2 days, just about. They were there through the rest of the weekend doing the initial planning. From there, we took the initial design, got that off to stage stormwater, getting that turned around in record time. It's because I like to pick up the phone and bother people. Wetlands permit, we met with the state wetlands representative last week. She recommended that we reach out to an outside firm who deals with permitting. So we're working with a company called Arrowwood with our maps. They're going to go in, delineate the wetlands, figure out what we need to pull for a permit and get that taken care of for us. It's going to cost us a few extra dollars, and obviously you'll see those expenses coming through to get approved before we spend money, but we need to have it done. Wetlands did let us know that everything west of the logging road in the middle, which is up the hill, is in nice and dry condition, and that they are completely comfortable with us moving forward with all aspects of the project above that road. So while we are waiting to pull, well, to finalize the stormwater permit and to pull that wetlands permit, we can start on the upper part of the hill, which will keep them busy through the summer, and then we can finish the lower half once we pull those permits towards the fall. Okay, any questions on that? Perfect. Flower barrels, hot topic in town. They're gonna be planted, I was told this week.
Then we're doing the comments.
That's great news. So if anyone asks, there's flowers going in the barrel. The full moon passed and the chi is just right. And the flowers are going in the barrels. The dedication plaque, Tommy's got the rock stenciled. He has all of the tools and everything. He's got a jig set up for the project. He's hoping to be up here either Monday or Thursday next week. He said it could take a couple of sessions of chipping and cutting to get it all done and correct. But from there, Phil will go to his rightful spot on the white rock at the town course. Okay, so I'll keep you updated when that actually happens. I did put out on I believe it was May 23rd, because I put it out for a month. I did put out a request for bids to replace the decking on the Green Iron Bridge after someone fell and was not horribly injured, but injured enough to warrant replacing the decking. So that's been out for half a month at this point. It closes on the 23rd. So far, we have 3 potential bidders. Most of them are talking about having availability to do that project for us in the winter. So it is what it is. They're on like big bridge projects in the summer. They're just trying to fill in the winter with some smaller projects. That's where we fall in with our green bridge. If somebody's able to do it in the summer, obviously we go that route probably. But I spoke with Dave today, and what it would entail is just a reroute to get them around the bridge. That hopefully we have it done relatively quickly. So those are my updates. I'm done.
Okay. All right, that's it.
That's it.
Here we go. Okay.
Motion to go into the Board of Liquor Control. Second.
All in favor? So we have a outside consumption permit for the Maple Inn.
Motion to approve the Randy.
Yeah, I got that thumbs up.
Okay. Motion to approve the outside consumption permit for Sugar Maple. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion not of order with your. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have the consent agenda. We have to approve minutes of May 15, 16, and June 1. And they 15, everybody was there, May 16. Everybody was there, and we do one. Everybody there. All right,
Motion to approve the minutes from May 15, 16, and June 1st.
any comments? All in favor? Motion, we need to approve the warrants of May 27, $185,609.61.
Motion to approve the May 27th warrants of $185,609.61.
Any comments? All in favor? FYI, we have.
You went to two?
No.
Okay, so.
Okay, so we have the special meeting with the employee reviews, June 8th, 1 p.m., starting at 1 p.m. at the Grove Town Hall. We have a joint town plan meeting with the planning commission and Wyndham Regional at 6:30 on June 12th at Grove Town Hall. We're gonna be there a lot. Trails and Rec Committee meets on the 13th at 6:30, open mic night on the 14th at 6 p.m.
Refreshments are being served at the town plan joint meeting.
They're all leftovers. You gotta hear our memories, baby. All right.
Have an incentive, right?
Liaison reports.
we spoke to Linda German, and our new hire is working out just so far, so good.
Excellent.
And,
I don't see me in the executive session. We're gonna, so, yeah. We do need an executive session for personnel on the next regular meeting. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:23 p.m. Thank you all for.
And then they started.
A lot of
and
so.
I feel like I get.
The next.